Hello, real estate friends. I'm Bart Jackson, real estate agent and appraiser with over 30 years of experience in the Charleston, South Carolina market. I want to talk with you today about price. I would argue myself that price is probably the most important variable in a successful real estate transaction. The right price is crucial. No buyer ever wants to overpay, and sellers want as high a price as possible. It's the biggest thing buyers and sellers stress over, and that's where having a knowledgeable agent on your side is so important. I think you would be very surprised at how few agents really know how to price a home. Our very advanced MLS system can produce beautiful CMAs for agents to use. No, that's not Country Music Awards, that's competitive market analysis. But many times it's no better than a Zestimate from Zillow because it uses most of the same raw data. Really good agents know how to do a manual CMA where they make adjustments for specific characteristics that the MLS computer does not account for. But it doesn't stop there. You need to know how many competing listings there are or how long it's taking houses to sell. What are mortgage rates doing? What time of year is it? Buyers are more active in the spring than around Thanksgiving and Christmas. This is why every listing I take involves me doing a full appraisal. I'm going to professionally measure the house, take detailed notes on quality and condition, think about how to properly stage the furniture and minimize the clutter and distractions. After that, I develop an appraisal report so we can sit down, have a knowledgeable discussion about an appropriate list price. This is all in an effort to avoid the one big mistake so many sellers and agents make: setting your price too high. It might seem like overpricing gives you room to negotiate or could really maximize your profit, but the reality is it usually backfires. I've seen it happen so many times. Have you ever heard the expression that you only have one chance to make a first impression? Well, the most important time in the life of a listing is the first week or two. House looks perfect, professional photos are in MLS, it's showing up online everywhere for buyers and their agents to see it as a brand new listing. Then the phone starts ringing, showing start getting scheduled. This is it. It's the fork in the road as to which way a listing goes, and it hinges on price. Do you want buyers and agents saying, wow, great house? If we don't buy this one, someone else probably will. Or do you want them saying, nice house, but I'm not sure it's worth this price? That's the reality of what goes on. Overpricing is often the kiss of death. Listing agents will often agree with sellers on a high price just so they don't risk losing the listing. This is why you have to interview your agent that you use and make sure you have a true professional on your side that's going to give you sound, honest advice. With mortgage rates and home prices where they are, buyers are already stretching their budgets. So when they see a house that's priced too high, they're not thinking, oh, wow, maybe I can negotiate this down to where I can afford it. They're more likely to just move on. And if they skip over your listing, you'll miss out on the chance to get them through the door. That's the last thing you want because fewer showings mean fewer chances to receive an offer. Then, the longer it sits on the market, if it's overpriced, the more buyers start to lose any of that enthusiasm they had at first. I don't care if your listing agent is Superman. Your overpriced house is not going to sell. The market never lies. I have seen it. Plus, if you do end up getting it under contract and it's overpriced and the buyer has to get a loan, then you're going to lose a couple of weeks waiting and worrying to see what the appraisal report says. And if the appraisal cuts the deal, then you have to put it back on the market and explain to everyone why the first deal didn't work out. It is so much more logical to develop a good game plan from the start. Setting an unrealistically high price with the idea that you can come down later doesn't work. I've seen it play out my whole career. Just this past year, I fell into the trap myself. A young couple who I helped buy a few years ago called me in late spring and said it was time for them to sell because they were moving to a new city. I came out, measured the property, completed an appraisal, came back out a couple days later to sit down and discuss price. I swear, if they're watching this right now, they're going to know exactly who they are. But anyway, I told them the numbers were showing me something around 850,000. They weren't totally thrilled because they were moving to a big city where every extra dollar would help. But they respected my number. But on the other side, I really wanted to help them. And that's where I got caught up. I wanted to see what I could do. So I said, look, let me go check everything again before we settle on a list price. This was only possible in this situation because there weren't that many sales and listings in the neighborhood or the subdivision for me to get a definitive number. I ended up calling several days later, said, look, we might be able to push this up towards the high 800s, but I felt very strongly that it would be a mistake to go to 900 or above 900 for sure. I said that I was willing to try 889,000, as long as they were going into it with eyes wide open and we'd see what would happen. Well, it took until November to get a buyer, and we closed in January for 855. You may say, well, Bart, you got 5,000 more than your original number of 850, but what if we had listed at a much more reasonable list price and they could have sold it 3 months earlier? If you consider the carry cost on a home like this, it can be close to $5,000 a month. They could have sold it for 850 and then saved 15,000 or more that they were spending waiting for the right buyer to come along, and the whole thing would have been much less stressful. Look, I have people tell me all the time, Bart, I cannot sell my house. I quickly tell them, list it for $10. They say, that's not what I'm talking about. And I say, well, that's exactly what I'm talking about. $10 makes the point that there is a price where your house will sell. If it's overpriced, it's not going to sell. At some point, you'll have no choice but to lower the price. And then that price reduction comes with its own downside. Buyers may see it as another red flag and wonder why the price is going down. I go back to the fork in the road on price. Do you want to have a properly priced listing that gives buyers a fear of missing out if they don't act on it? Or do you want a price that gives them fear of what's wrong with the property and why is it not selling? So what's the secret to avoiding all this? It's simple. Work with a local real estate agent who knows the market, preferably inside and out, and who's going to be honest with you about how your pricing on your house should come out. You don't want to partner with someone who just agrees to whatever your number you throw out at them. That's not an expert who's going to get you the best results. You want an agent who recommends a price based on their expertise. The right agent will use real-time data from your local market to help you land on a price that makes sense. The one that grabs attention, attracts buyers, and still helps a seller walk away with a great return. As an appraiser, I do this every day for my buyers and sellers. I've seen the stress melt away when I knowledgeably help buyers not overpay for properties and sellers not underprice their listings. Bottom line, instead of shooting too high with a listing, repelling buyers, work with an experienced professional who knows how to price it right, make sure your house hits the market with the right price, gets noticed, and then gets sold. I promise you it's pretty simple. I'm here to help. Give me a call.